Over the weekend, dog sled teams competed in the Eric Rumbolt Memorial Dog Sled Race in Port Hope Simpson. The race honors Eric Rumbolt, who helped revive dog sledding in the Labrador South Coast. He died in 2001 after a cancer diagnosis. And for Erica Evans, Eric Rumbolt's daughter, the annual race brings back fond memories. Labrador Morning's John Gowdy reached Erica Evans in Kitchener, Ontario, to talk about the passion for dog sledding in her family.
Can you tell me about what it was like growing up with the dogs in your family?
Well, it was a daily routine. It was incorporated into everything that we did. As you know, parts of Labrador are quite remote, so we had our daily chores, go get the firewood, collect whatever needed to be done to make the household run smoothly. But in our home, the dogs had to be fed at a certain time. Dad would go run them, or he'd let them loose. Fortunately in Labrador, there's plenty of land. So when you have a home, chances are you have probably, sometimes an acre, half an acre behind your house. So in our case, that was allotted for the dogs and the dog pens. So Dad would go on a hunt pretty much every spring, I think, every spring and every fall with his buddies, and they'd collect seals, bring them back, put them back in the back part of the property, and they would freeze obviously over winter and whatnot. And you'd just go out and you would pull a seal or part of a seal, and then Dad would start an open fire outside every single day with a big drum and throw seal into that, boil it, and then add flour. And so the dogs were well fed. So they had, your gruel, if you want to call it. But yeah, it was a part of every day. The dogs were fed, the dogs were run, and they were let off to have a good romp around the property. But it was a good thing. You would hear the dogs howling at night, and to be honest with you, that was very soothing for me in my back room window. When the dogs would howl, it would kind of lull me to sleep. So I loved it, and I'd often sneak a dog into my bedroom when they were young pups.
You would?
Oh, absolutely. I was never allowed to do that. But when you get older, sometimes the teenagers get moved to the basement, and that's where your bedrooms were set up. And so the back door of our home was where the furnace was downstairs. And so you'd bring the wood in, but my bedroom was further part of the house. So I would go open the back door and pull one of the dogs in with me. And it's so funny because sometimes we'd have mixed dogs or whatever, like a Labrador or a Husky might be maybe partially a German Shepherd or whatever the case might be. And at one point I would have a dog that would come in through the back and stay on my bed for the night. If it got too hot, crawl under the bed. But when they would hear my mom or dad coming down in the morning to fix the wood or stoke the fire, they'd jump down and get under the bed and hide.
They knew they weren't supposed to be there.
Absolutely. It was just a routine we had. And, it was a good thing. And Dad incorporated us into helping. I was the one most interested in the dogs. My other siblings weren't so much. I was one of the only kids that had my own dog team and raced as well. So it was a beautiful thing. And you look back at your childhood and you think the rich character of what we're built on here. In Labrador, being able to capture that with dog sledding is such a beautiful thing. And for me, I loved every moment of it. And I do recall that at one point we had close to 27 dogs in the back, and one of the females that had a litter, and there was no room for them. And so Dad had said, you know what, we're going to have to put these down. And so I saw him going to the back to collect the pups to put them down. And I ran ahead of him because I was faster. And I grabbed two of the pups and I stuffed them into my coat pockets. It was wintertime. And I ran into the woods. And I didn't know, you don't defy your dad, especially, it's old school. And so I took the two pups, put them in my pocket, ran into the woods, ran up a hill and up a tree. I ran far enough that I knew Dad wasn't going to follow me. It was just too much effort. So I stayed in the tree, kept the pups warm in my pockets, and he came in probably about an hour later, and he said, okay, time to come down. This is enough. So I said, I'm not coming unless you let me keep these pups. And he said, you're not keeping the dogs. We've got too many of them. So I stayed there, and I could see him and Mom off in the distance talking, and then he finally came in. He said, okay, if you come down, those dogs are your responsibility. You have to feed them. You have to come up with everything, take care of them, and you can have them. And, of course, I'm crying, and I run up to him, and I give him a big hug and whatnot, and I kept the pups with their mother, because obviously the mother was one of the adults that he had kept, and I got to keep those two, and they grew up to be beautiful and my dogs on my team, and it was a wonderful childhood memory for me.
It must be hugely emotional for you, that this is a race that's held in your dad's memory each year. It
is. It absolutely is, and to know that all of his friends, people that he's raced with, Dennis Burton, the Larkins and the Russells out in Williams Harbor, and the Charlottetown boys as well. It's just very nice to see them all coming together and doing what they love the most. I mean, like I had mentioned in the note that I had sent you, the weekends during the winter months, the weekends were filled with men coming and going, and having a chat with Dad and saying, okay, and they would swap their dogs, like, okay, well, I'll trade you this one for this one. It was like hockey night in Canada, right? And you're just I'd like this one for the anchor. This one would be a good lead, it was nice. It was a nice bartering system between them, but they all had such a passion for what they do, and they still do, obviously, because the race it continues on. So it's a beautiful thing to see, and my goal is to hopefully get back, maybe if not next year, the year after. But it's definitely a priority for me back, and I want to go back and race. So I want to take, and I'm sure that there'll be enough generous men back there that have raced with my father that will lend me a couple of dogs just so that I can have the experience. The competitive nature in me will know and accept that I probably will not win it, but it's the experience itself, and it's just absolutely lovely.
Wonderful. Nice to talk to you, Erica.
That's Erica Evans, who grew up in Port Hope Simpson, now living in Ontario. Her father, Eric Rumbolt, is honored each year with the Eric Rumbolt Memorial Traditional Dog Sled Race held in Port Hope Simpson for now 10 years. And this year's winner was Dwayne Russell. So big congratulations to Dwayne.
Congratulations, Dwayne.
And if anybody has any photos, we would love to put some pictures of this race on our Facebook page. So you can message us on Facebook, facebook.com/Labrador Morning, or email us labradormorning@cbc.ca to get those pictures in.